Well,
First time we're seeing this map today.
Is it? Yeah, because we haven't argued about the way to pronounce this yet.
Zvani, man. Come on.
Van Eye.
Van Eye. Come get in my Van Eye, little children. I've got lollipops for you. Like, come on.
Actually, so it's at this point where Zombie Grub and I have both yielded. Like, we are fully aware we pronounced it incorrectly. But it sounds so much cooler than Vani. Oh, Vani Research Station. Van Eye! It sounds cool, man. It's got harder sounds. It's way more awesome.
Yeah, alright. We're just going to skip right past that. And
disagree.
Down here at the bottom side of this map, the Zerg player in the blue, it is Losira.
With his opponent.
Nothing. Continue.
Oh, sorry. With his opponent spawning opposite north side of the map, we got the red Protoss stats. Of course, this is now tied up 1-1 if you've just tuned in. It's the final game of Group A. No more matches for this group after, and the question kind of goes down to, like, who do you, like, the viewer really want to win? Because you gotta channel your energy really hard. It's their last chance. The loser of this is knocked out of IEM.
That's right. These players want that chance to play in the big stadium. They want to play in that round of 8, in that semifinals, in that finals, with the fans cheering them on.
Oh.
Stat's going to be going for a Nexus first here. He did scout for a proxy hatch.
Yeah.
Looked around with that probe.
Losira's also looking for proxies. Spreads his overlords out nice, takes that drone way across the side before taking that third. Both players playing it safe.
Yeah. Huge two-player map. So many places to proxy, and because players tend to play so greedy here, those sort of super aggressive and super greedy builds are very popular. Both players here opting for the super greedy. We see Losira going 3H before pool, Stats going Nexus first. So both of them wanted to sort of temper that greed with a little bit of scouting, make sure they could check for any sort of crazy all-ins coming their way before they committed to it. And what? Losira is so strange. Just takes the gas at his natural, just I guess because his drone was already rallied over there. He just likes to do strange things.
The mind games, dude. The mind games.
There's no reason not to do it. It's just there's something, I don't know, an OCD part of my brain starts kind of ticking a little bit and going like, oh, why did you do that?
Well, so before we get into this too much, I just want to express, I really think it'd be cooler for me. I want to see Stats not just win this and go to the round of 8, but also get far in the tournament. There's too many times in StarCraft where you've got good players who might be the top of WCS, might be the BlizzCon, top 4 people. They just fall off the next week or the next tournament, or they underperform once, and it's just like you don't see a lot of great consistency in StarCraft. So it'll be a really cool story for Losira to win and like kind of shut down somebody like Stats. I think I would just a little, like 51% versus 49% like to see Stats actually take this series, go through to that round of 8, and keep his story going as the guy who was at BlizzCon, finished top 4 at BlizzCon.
Absolutely, Stats has been so consistent throughout this year. StarCraft is always a game where it's hard to kind of temper, I guess, repetition and becoming like so good at knowing a build inside out with not being predictable and counterable. Because at its heart, it is a strategy game, and it doesn't matter how good you are at executing something. The moment you become too predictable at too many stages of your game, people are going to find ways to abuse that. And that is something to look out for. I do like Stats here going back to this DT drop, Archon drop build, by the way. I think this is really solid.
This actually, so speaking of like being too predictable, that's when you start talking with people like Zest and stuff. It will do this build no matter what, always, regardless. Doesn't matter what your opponent's been doing or what he was doing. But I love this wall because going back actually to talk about Zest, just again, a little bit of a thicker wall, a little bit tougher to break through. Maybe we'll see how this plays out. I do think though that the Dark Shrine, yeah, it's not going to get unscouted. The Overlord's going to see it right now. Not a problem. Well, Losira, let's see if he panics and puts on some Spore Crawlers. I imagine he'll try to mine a few more seconds. He's got 11 more drones coming out as we speak. I mean, he sees this. There's just no way he should take much damage to this.
Yeah, normally you don't need to be ready till about 5 minutes, because even if the Dark Shrine is ready super early like this game, it's still going to be a bit before the Warp Prism actually gets over there and warps the DTs in. So Losira being nice and greedy, leaving his spores to the last second. You know, in some of these games, I kind of wish Losira would just like rush the lair and just have an Overseer. But especially here on Varney, where your bases are so spread out, you can't just rely on one Overseer to be in the right position. Because if suddenly one DT splits off, hits your third base while you're in your back natural, you're just going to get wrecked. You're going to lose so many drones by the time your Overseer gets over there. And interestingly enough, Stat's not even going to risk going in with the DTs.
Yeah,
he knows that Losira is going to be ready. Just going to pick off units as he goes. I'm surprised he isn't going for the Overlords, actually. He'll probably come back and pick those up later.
I feel like we already got spoiled today watching a lot of the War Prism Archon micro, especially thinking of Zest early on in the day, right? But
when he killed 300 Zerglings, everyone, yeah.
Yeah, right, drag and drop, drag and drop. I mean, there's a lot of potential that we've seen already. Like, if you've never seen this matchup before, but you saw it earlier today, you know what this can do. So the question is, what can Stats do? Oh, wait, hold up. He's going for charge immediately after this. That's interesting.
No third base for Stats yet, and it's getting to close to 6 minutes, so he really needs to move down to get that. He might just go for a big 2-base attack. I think he'll definitely have a third Nexus, but will he actually build any more probes for that Nexus? And he's not even faking the Nexus right now. He's actually being really obvious with this. Losira's got Hydras on the way with the upgrade and Spine Crawlers at the front. Oh man, Losira has a great read. That Overlord pooping creep and that Zergling saying, well, if you're not going to go for a third base, I know exactly what you're doing. I can just stop on 50 drones, mass units, defend, and I will be in a good spot.
So the charge is an excellent choice, anticipating Hydras. Charge lots, storms, those are kind of the two things you want to shut them down. Hydra's can, of course, cut around the Archons, and that's where it feels bad for the Archons. But the charge lots get right up in their face. They hit really hard. They can be fantastic at dealing with those, especially in smaller numbers. So Stats' army back at home, a little bit unconventional, but there's no Banelings waiting for him. So these charge lots are going to do absolutely fantastic.
And it looks like Swarmers might actually be what Losira wants to go to, but oh man, just continually to pick off drones. Continuing to pick off drones, sorry, with that Archon drop. Moving out now with this big charge on attack. The Spine Crawlers all got moved or cancelled. And that means it's just a few Hydras here. 65 drones versus 44 probes. Losira, he had such a good read before, but this fake third base, he's reacting as if it's a real one. Losira had all the information he needed this game. Unfortunately, not reacting quite the way he should have. Distracted by this Archon drop and making a slight...
Oh! Wonderful pickoff out of Losira.
Wow.
That actually, you could see that in Stats' other army too. He was moving very steadily across the map, loses the Archon, and he does what is almost like just a double take. Like, do I really want to pursue this without the Archon and without that War Prism to reinforce on the front line? So I'm not sure if he'll move in. He's going to go for the creep at least. This is an all-in attack.
He needs to kill with this. But now there's just too many units. He's given Losira so much time. Remember, Losira was super greedy this game. Like, he's been so greedy. If he gets any more time, he's just going to be too far ahead. There's no way this is going to work for Stats if he takes any longer.
He has to wait for the Warp Prism, though, right? That's what makes this so difficult. Without that Warp in point, there's no point. Like, you're just not going to be able to take on the hordes of Hydras and the Reinforcing Links. So now that the Warp Prism's here, it's coming. You're right. He gave him a lot of extra time. This army's much bigger than it would have been normally. And I don't know if Stats can get this done, but he's got to try because... oh man, he doesn't really have any other choices. There's no upgrades behind this. There's no +1 weapons. There's nothing. It's all pure brute force. He's got the army supply. Let's see if he can make it happen. Force fields, I think, are going to be his best friend here.
Stats here kind of slowing down a little bit. He's transferred workers onto his third. He's warping in some Zealots to be ready for the big Link counterattack that's about to hit. But 3 Zealots isn't enough to deal with that many Zerglings. But it looks like... oh, he lets the Zerglings in the main base while he's looking at the front. Stats is going to have to pull back and deal with his main base, which is getting ravaged right now. Zerglings inside his bases. Everything is falling apart right now. Stats here going for a little bit of a gamble with this huge timing attack. Loses the Warp Prism. Now suddenly he's got one moment to make this work. And a fantastic Evo Chamber wall here from Losira. He's going to block off the charge of those Zealots. Oh, wow.
At the same time, though, those force fields create this nice little meat grinder for the Archons. Everything was stacked up so nice. The Immortals still haven't even had their barriers triggered. They're tearing through the roaches. Most of the Zealots are gone, but the Archons and Immortals are all still pretty much full health. Drone's getting pulled. Spinecrawler doing what it can. This is looking pretty good for Stats, but the army supplies are still very even. Ducks, when did Vipers even get made?
I don't know why he's building Vipers against Chargelots right now. I think Losira got a little bit on autopilot here. He needed more Roaches and Hydras here. I mean, Banelings would have shut this down so hard as well, like you said before, Rifkin, but it looks like Stats here confidently playing this out in a really awkward position. And
This-
even with these abducts picking off his units, I think he just has too much.
I think this was the idea for the Abducts. I like that a lot, actually, considering you could have killed a lot of these Archons one at a time. If Losira had had another like 30 seconds, this would have been fantastic. But it didn't work out like that. The Warpins are directly at the base. He's out of supply. He's out of lives. GG. Stats will finish second place in the group.
Well, that's a replay I'm going to instantly rewatch. Why? That's crazy.